Hello, everyone, and welcome to this latest episode of our TechTrends podcast. We are doing this podcast on the sidelines of the NOVACOM Africa Summit, which is being held here in Diani. And of course, throughout the last one day, we've seen interact with a lot of tech leaders from across Africa, talking about innovation, talking about connectivity. So a lot of things to unpack on the direction Africa is taking when it comes to connectivity. And in this episode, I'm really excited to host Dan, talk about, of course, some of the things we've discussed here, talk about innovation in Africa and everything else you need to know that we have picked, or just our key takeaways from the NOVACOM Africa Summit. So Dan, let me let you introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
Thanks a lot. Hello, everyone. My name's Dan Kwach. I'm the Managing Director, Africa Data Centers, in charge of our East African business. So just like that name suggests, we are a Pan-African data center provider. So with presence in South Africa, with 2 data centers, one in Joburg, we've got another facility in Cape Town. You go to West Africa, we also have a data center in Nigeria that's in Lagos to serve that market. Come to the eastern side, then we've got presence in Nairobi, where we have our leading data center facility that's really served the industry for over 12 years now. So we take that prime position as a leader. And beyond East Africa, for you to really be having a Pan-African presence, ADC also has an interest or a plan to extend our services into northern part of Africa. So we'll be extending our facilities or our operations into Egypt and Morocco as well. But even for the markets we are in, there is a lot that we are doing to just expand our footprints, get alternate sites as well, so that we can serve the market in a way that is in line with our customers' expectations.
All right. A lot we are doing, of course, being in the space we are in right now, I've actually covered so much about Africa Data Centers, spoke to your team, at Samia and all that. And there are a lot of things you're doing, especially around connectivity. I think that's why it's so important for us to just sit here and talk about connectivity. So maybe let me start by asking this question. Why is it so important for us to have this conversation, just talk about connectivity in Africa, especially in forums like this ones?
Thanks a lot. It's important, has actually been the tone of this entire conference. And this is going to continue to be a conversation that we'll be having not only in this kind of forums, but even others as well. And thanks to TechTrends and other, media platforms that we are having in Africa for really giving us a chance to, speak of our African story in a way that we really understand, because it's us who've been able to build this digital infrastructure that is now supporting the African economy, so to speak. But back to your question on asking why is connectivity so important. Connectivity is so important because as a people, we believe in relationships. We need to be communicating. As a people, we need to make sure that there is a way that we can actually have information, data, and services, moving from one location to the other. And that's really just achievable if you've got connectivity from one point to the other. The only way that Africa can actually trade is by making sure that we've got the infrastructure that can enable that trade to happen. The only way that can happen is by us building networks that can then enable, an operation, a business that is actually in Africa or domiciled in Africa, to have a way that the same services can then be extended outside of their national borders. So like it is, our customers say, for example, in our East African facility, which like I shared is the largest and the leading data center provider. We've got banking institutions that actually have a Pan-African footprint. And so what will matter, they will come to us because beyond just having that data center facility, we've got network service providers that will enable them extend their services outside of Kenya, so that they can serve DRC, so they can serve Sudan, so they can serve Rwanda, Uganda. You look at it from the regional trading or economic blocks, say COMESA and something like that. So the 50% of banking institutions in Kenya plus that have trusted us, the only reason they come to us is because we remain the most connected site. And when we talk of being the most connected site, we again do it in a very neutral manner. So Africa Data Centers facility in Nairobi has over 100 network service providers.
Wow.
The reason we have these 100 plus network service providers is because of the reach of some of these service providers, because of the additional value propositions for some of these providers, because of their unique selling point in terms of the products and the solutions that they have in these markets. So we leave it really open for all these operators
Yeah.
to serve the customers that sit in our space. And you, as we are now talking, cloud is also said to now be coming into Africa. Of course, we were the first data center player to have brought the very first flavors of what you'll call public cloud getting into Eastern Africa. We are happy with the announcements that we are having in terms of public cloud deployments now going to happen in Kenya. You talk of the academic institutions or academia, Kenya has done so well. The likes of institutions like Kenneth have been able to serve the higher institutions of learning by not only having academic content, but also a platform that can allow these high institutions of learning to sort of collaborate in their content of research or any kind of academic papers. And that is happening on digital platforms that is serviced by or run by Kenneth. And Kenneth is again a partner of ours. You know, you talk of again maybe another industry, say the infotainment. So Netflix, we host the Netflix Pop that is in Eastern Africa. The other is in South Africa. But really, we take we take pride in the fact that they saw it wise that, you know, when you're looking at where else to have this kind of infrastructure, then they chose us so that they can also offer this kind of service. So different players, and all these different players, that's what we talk about in terms of a digital ecosystem. But yes, you can never do that without connectivity. So the more connected a data center site is, the more you show that, you know, you beyond just building the data center, you have a proper understanding on how to manage the facility to achieve the high availability, to make sure that the data is secure, the services are secure. These are the things that make customers come to us, because they are not buying a data center, but, you know, they look at us as a trusted and dependable partner in terms of hosting data center, their data center infrastructure.
All right. Of course, we've seen a lot of companies that want to scale and expand to other countries, and of course, when that happens, when they're looking for a partner to help them scale outside Kenya, for example, now that's where Africa, you know, ADC comes in, for example, right? So, based on this relationship, you've worked with a lot of telcos, a lot of network providers. What kind of innovations have you seen coming up? You know, of course, as a player in this field as well, what kind of innovations have you seen come up, you know, within this, you know, operator within the system that are not supporting the growth of connectivity in the region?
No, thanks a lot for that. Of course, there's a term that was once used, which I think is right. But again, it's only fair to say that when you have such kind of groundbreaking innovations, then it's worth celebrating. You know, you can talk of us maybe have been obsessed with it. And what I mean is, there's a time that my friend John Kiarie, the chairman ICT Parliamentary Committee, actually challenged us and said, guys, I think when you talk innovation, that we are overly romanticizing M-Pesa. But it's for a good reason, because this was a breakthrough or an innovation that really has been recognized and, you know, celebrated worldwide. And the fact that it became a success in Kenya is something that we still take pride in. But yes, over and beyond mobile money, what else has probably happened in our space? And I think in our space, when I look at the Kenyan environment, the fact that a lot of our public sector services are on digital platforms, these are things that we should never take for granted. You'll be shocked. I think at some point in time, I realized that Huduma is being on the digital platform actually got an international, you know, recognition and award, you know, just to celebrate the fact that we have made it easier for the citizens to access the services on an online platform. And the only reason we are doing that is because of our broadband penetration, again, being extremely well or good in Kenya. So that is something that I celebrate. And I was just touching on that to demonstrate that we are doing well on the public sector. We are 2 or about 3 months into submitting our tax returns. Kenya becomes one of those, you know, markets or countries where we actually do this digitally. There is the connectivity to schools that is helping by way of making sure that we are not just extending internet or connectivity to these schools, but we're also trying to make sure that there is digital awareness from a very young age in our institutions of learning, And this is happening because we are having players who are bridging that gap by way of extending this kind of technologies to the schools, but also making sure that emerging trends and emerging technologies becomes a topic that we talk about from a very young age. And of course, we are doing it because the ultimate objective is to make sure that when, as they grow, let them be thinking of innovative ways of answering or addressing Africa's needs using the digital knowledge and skills that they've got. So yes, artificial intelligence, it's a big thing and everyone is now talking about. But what I always say is this, that is technology, but what will really matter is how we translate or make use of it so that it can meet a need in Kenya or a need in Africa. How can we make sure that cloud computing, everyone has been talking about digital transformation and organization going to the cloud. That's fair and it's very much okay. But don't go selling cloud. Instead, look for a solution that is cloud-based. And in which case then, our customers or the market will be consuming cloud. But what they are in effect consuming is a solution that meets their actual needs in the market. So everyone has been talking cloud. We are now speaking AI. Of course, cybersecurity became a concern because immediately we are moving to the digital space and having digital IDs. While I have a physical persona in the name of Dan, I've got an online persona that is again in the name of Dan, and it becomes a concern and something that is paramount, not just for me, but other stakeholders, like in this case, the government, to make sure that that digital persona is secured from abuse, and there are laws just in case there's maybe any breach or misuse of my digital persona or identity. So agriculture, I've seen innovations, just are coming through to help us by way of looking at, how can we handle food security. And so the innovations that have come in that space by way of looking at how best can we, have more food production while using less. That is what innovation is to me.
All right.
Making sure that you're doing more with the less that you've got.
And maybe I actually like that. And, just as we come to an end, I understand, I actually like what you're doing with the Innovation Hub you launched, I think it should be last year. Maybe just as we went up, take us through that. What is this Innovation Hub about? Because I know you're working with a lot of startups, a lot of, businesses to just support them, move to the cloud and all that. Just briefly touch on that, before we just close the podcast.
So what we're doing on that front, number one, is considering that we are in the technology space. It's only fair that whatever insights, whatever knowledge we have in terms of the technologies that we have in the market, those that we see as emerging and probably going to, sort of be disruptive. We don't want it to be disruptive. We instead want a situation where there is a proactive approach to understanding those concepts. And there is definitely an even bigger focus on making sure that we are translating that technology to solutions that can meet our needs in the market. So what we do is, always having conversations with the innovative community, the innovation communities that we have in Kenya. We speak very closely to DevOps communities in Kenya. And in effect, what we tell them is this: we are doing our part in terms of having the hosting environments that you need for the ultimate solutions that you're going to come up with. But please also do your part by way of upskilling. And this bit of upskilling, we do it because we are in a privileged position that we've got partnerships with other with other players in the market, like Microsoft. We've got other partnerships with organizations that also help us, for example, in the connectivity to the schools. And that's courtesy of not just Africa Data Centers, but you see our Cassava Technologies Group and other business lines. So what we do is we use the opportunities we have to interact with other partners to add value so that we are also bridging that skills gap that is talked about in Kenya, in Africa. But we don't just want to bridge that skills gap by imparting the knowledge. We also want to make sure that we are sort of involved in boot camps. We are involved in conversations around how do we make sure that we are rewarding those that are coming up with innovative and impactful solutions that address our socioeconomic needs. But this is something that we will continuously, we are going to do continuously, because there is no point in time when we are going to say that we need to stop upskilling. As it is, and this is a mantra that I believe in myself as Dan, that the best we can do is to be better versions of ourselves.
I know.
So I always keep on asking myself, if today I was able to do this, what do I do so that tomorrow I'm actually viewed to have probably had a much bigger impact?
Okay.
And yes.
And this can only be achieved actually when you work with people that are actually building those products.
True.
And just supporting them, to just scale and do all these things.
Now, trust you me, as a leader, and this is something that I've learned, in my own professional life, in family, you must always ask yourself, how do you move along with people? I tell everyone that, I believe in the spirit of Ubuntu. I am because you are.
Yeah.
So the only thing I can do to celebrate my achievements is by looking at my other, friends and relatives, and if I see that they have also moved one step ahead and I had a contribution to that, then that's really the win that I need to celebrate.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for joining us on this latest episode of our TechTrends podcast. As I said earlier, we are shooting this podcast on the sidelines of the NOVACOM Africa Summit. And of course, it's glad to just talk to people in this space, talk to tech leaders in the telco space, in the innovation space, and just talk about the solutions they are building, and of course the great things that, for example, what Dan is doing with Africa data centers. So I hope to see you in Nairobi. Maybe we'll just get time and talk more about what we are doing. But thank you so much for watching this episode. My name is Nick Kanali. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.